Hey there, you looking kinda cute. Please consider subscribing and check out our Patreon for more. Enjoy the video. Adeline closed her laptop with a snap, her heart racing as she heard her parents' voices drifting up the stairs. She had been deep in conversation with her online friends, discussing their shared experiences as transgender women, and the sense of community and acceptance she felt with them was unlike anything she had ever known. But now, the stark reality of her situation was sinking in. She knew that she could no longer keep this part of her life hidden from her parents. "Joey," her mom called out, knocking on the slightly ajar door. "Dinner's ready. Are you almost done up there?" Adeline took a deep breath, steeling herself. "Just a minute, Mom," she called out, her voice shaking slightly. She quickly tucked a few stray strands of her long, dark hair behind her ear and straightened her posture, determined to exude confidence, even if she didn't feel it. With one last glance in the mirror, she made her way downstairs, her heart pounding in her chest. She knew that tonight could be the night that she finally revealed her true self to her parents. The thought both thrilled and terrified her. Her parents, Dan and Laura, were setting the table in the dining room, the familiar aroma of her mom's homemade lasagna wafting through the air. The ordinary routine of their weekly family dinner night seemed at odds with the storm of emotions raging inside Adeline. "There you are," Dan said, looking up as she entered the room. "Everything okay? You seem a bit distracted tonight." Adeline forced a smile, her heart hammering in her chest. "Yeah, I'm fine, Dad. Just a lot on my mind, I guess." Laura paused from dishing out the lasagna, her brows furrowed with concern. "Everything okay at school? You know you can talk to us about anything, Joey." The use of her birth name stung, but Adeline knew that her parents' concerns came from a place of love and protection. It's not really about school," she stammered, playing with the hem of her sleeve. "It's something else." Dan and Laura exchanged a worried glance, their forks hovering forgotten over their plates. "What is it, son?" Dan asked, his voice gentle but firm. "You know you can tell us anything." Adeline took a deep breath, her hands balling into fists in her lap. This was it. There was no going back now. I've been feeling like I don't fit in my own skin," she blurted out, the words tumbling out in a rush. "Like I'm trapped in the wrong body." A heavy silence fell over the table as Laura and Dan exchanged a bewildered glance. "What do you mean, Joey?" Laura asked, her voice tight. "Of course you're in the right body. You're our son." Adeline shook her head, her eyes welling up with tears. "No, Mom, I'm not. I mean, not in the way you think. I identify as a woman. I'm trans." Dan's eyebrows knitted together, his expression shifting from concern to confusion. "Transgender? But you've never shown any signs of this before. Are you sure about this, Joey?" "It's Adeline," she corrected, her voice shaking but resolute. "And yes, I'm sure. I've been struggling with my gender identity for a long time, but I only recently accepted it myself. Being part of an online community has helped me understand who I am." Laura's mouth dropped open, her eyes filling with tears. "But you're just a boy going through a phase. You can't just decide to be a girl." Adeline flinched as if slapped, the pain of her mother's rejection stabbing deep. "It's not a phase, Mom," she said, her voice cracking. "I am a girl. I know it in my heart, and I can't keep ignoring who I truly am." "But what about all the years of raising you as our son?" Dan demanded, his eyes flashing with a mixture of anger and hurt. "Are we just supposed to forget that and accept this delusion of yours?" "It's not a delusion," Adeline cried, pushing her chair back and standing up abruptly. "I'm still the same person I've always been. I'm just finally being honest about who I am on the inside." "Honest?" Laura scoffed, her eyes narrowing. "You call this honesty? Hiding this from us all these years, sneaking around behind our backs? How can we even trust you anymore?" Adeline felt like the room was spinning, her parents' words stabbing at her like 1,000 knives. "I'm sorry I didn't tell you sooner," she whispered, fresh tears streaming down her cheeks. But I was scared. I knew that you might not understand." "You're damn right we don't understand," Dan exploded, rising from his chair. "This is a lot to process, Joey, or Adeline, or whoever you think you are. We need time to adjust to this revelation." "I know it's a lot to take in," Adeline said, her voice trembling. "But I can't keep living a lie, Dad. I need your support and acceptance, not your anger and confusion." Laura wiped at her tears angrily, her face a mask of hurt and betrayal. "You want our support? How can you expect that when you've kept this secret for so long? You've lied to us, Joey, and now you expect us to just accept this new identity of yours?" Adeline's shoulders slumped, the weight of her parents' disappointment crushing her. "I never meant to lie to you," she said softly. "I was scared and confused, and I didn't know how to tell you. But I'm not asking for your permission to be myself. I'm a woman, and this is my body and my life." The tension in the room was palpable, the air heavy with unspoken words and hurt feelings. The family finished their dinner in silence, the once cozy atmosphere now heavy and strained. Afterwards, Adeline retreated to her room, closing the door softly behind her. She collapsed onto her bed, the tears she had been holding back finally spilling over. As she lay there, her mind racing with a tumult of emotions, her phone buzzed with a notification. It was a message from one of her online friends, Sarah, who had also been born male but was now living as a woman. "How did it go?" Sarah asked, her concern clear even through the screen. "Are your parents more accepting now?" Adeline sighed, her fingers hovering over the keyboard as she debated how much to reveal. "It didn't go great," she admitted. "They're upset and confused, and they're having a hard time accepting it. But I stood my ground and told them I'm not changing my mind." "I'm proud of you," Sarah responded immediately. "It's their problem if they can't accept the real you. You don't need their approval to be yourself." Adeline smiled weakly, comforted by Sarah's unwavering support. "Thanks. I know you're right. It's just hard when it's your own parents who can't accept you." "I know," Sarah said softly. "But remember, you have a community of people who do accept you, who understand what you're going through. We're here for you whenever you need us." "Thanks, Sarah," Adeline said, feeling a warmth spread through her despite the difficult situation. "It really helps to know that I'm not alone in this." The days that followed were fraught with tension and strained conversations. Adeline tiptoed around her parents, feeling like a stranger in her own home. The once familiar environment now felt stifling and oppressive. Every interaction was laced with unspoken words and unresolved emotions. It was during this tumultuous time that Adeline found herself increasingly drawn to the online community she had discovered. She spent hours each day conversing with her new friends, sharing experiences, and offering support and encouragement. They became her safe haven, a place where she could be her true self without fear of judgment or rejection. One particular friend, Riley, stood out among the rest. Like Adeline, Riley had also struggled with her gender identity from a young age and had only recently come out to her family and friends. The two women connected instantly, bonding over their shared experiences and offering each other a unique understanding and support. As the weeks went by, Adeline and Riley's friendship grew stronger, their messages becoming longer and more frequent. They shared their hopes, dreams, and fears, offering each other a sense of solidarity that neither had experienced before. It was a lifeline for Adeline during a time when she felt utterly alone and misunderstood by those closest to her. "My parents still aren't speaking to me," Adeline confided in Riley one evening, her fingers flying across the keyboard as she relayed the latest development. "I tried to talk to my mom again today, but she just shut me down. I don't know what else to do." "I'm so sorry, Addie," Riley responded, using the nickname she had given Adeline. "It's so hard when the people who are supposed to love you unconditionally can't accept the real you. Remember, you did nothing wrong by being honest about who you are." Addie sighed, the weight of her parents' continued rejection pressing down on her. "I know, but it still hurts. I can't help but feel like I've failed them somehow." You haven't failed anyone, Riley asserted, her words appearing on the screen with fervor. It's their choice to react this way. You're an amazing, brave woman, and anyone would be lucky to have you as a daughter. Addie felt her eyes well up with tears at Riley's unwavering support. Thank you, Riley. It means the world to me to have you in my corner. I don't know what I'd do without you. You're my best friend, Addie, Riley said simply, and I'm here for you always. As the months passed, Adeline's relationship with her parents remained strained. Dan and Laura seemed to have accepted that Adeline was serious about her transition, but their support was tentative and often came with strings attached. They would offer words of encouragement one day, only to slip up and misgender her the next, causing fresh wounds to form. It was during this tumultuous time that Adeline found herself relying more and more on Riley's unwavering support. They spoke every day, their messages and video calls a constant source of comfort and acceptance. Riley had become the sister Adeline never had, and their bond grew stronger with each passing day. I wish my parents would just accept me already, Adeline lamented one evening as she and Riley video chatted, the familiar sight of Riley's smiling face filling her screen. It's been months, and they're still tiptoeing around the issue. It's their loss if they can't see how amazing you are, Riley said, her green eyes flashing with a mixture of anger and sympathy. You don't need their approval to be happy and live your truth. Adeline nodded, knowing that Riley was right, even if it didn't make the hurt any less acute. I know, but it still stings. I can't help but want their acceptance. Of course you do, Riley said softly, reaching out as if to offer a comforting touch through the screen. And you'll get there eventually. They're just taking their time to come around. Adeline sighed, running a hand through her now shoulder-length hair. I guess. I just wish they could see that I'm still the same person, regardless of my gender. They will, Riley said firmly, her voice full of conviction. And if they can't, then it's their loss. You're an incredible woman, Addie, and anyone would be lucky to have you in their life. As their friendship deepened, Adeline and Riley began to discuss the possibility of meeting in person. They lived in different states, but the distance didn't deter them from making plans to finally see each other face to face. I can't wait to finally meet you in person, Adeline exclaimed one evening as they discussed potential dates for their get-together. It's been too long since we've been just online friends. Riley grinned, her eyes sparkling with excitement. I know, I feel like I already know you so well, but there's something special about meeting in person. It's like our friendship will finally be complete. Adeline's heart raced at the thought of finally being able to give Riley a real hug, to sit across from her in a coffee shop and talk for hours. Definitely, and who knows, maybe this will be the start of us becoming roommates one day. Riley's face lit up at the mention of their shared dream. Oh my God, can you imagine? We'd have so much fun and we'd always have each other's backs. It would be the best. Absolutely, Adeline agreed, her eyes shining with excitement. Let's make it happen. We can start looking for places now and make a plan. The two friends spent the next several weeks making plans, their excitement building with each detail they finalized. They decided on a city that was halfway between their respective homes, booking a hotel room for their first official meetup. Finally, the long-awaited day arrived. Adeline's heart was pounding in her chest as she stepped off the bus in the bustling city center, her eyes scanning the crowd for Riley's familiar face. She felt a rush of nerves mixed with anticipation as she made her way through the sea of strangers. Addie! Riley's voice rang out, and Adeline turned to see her friend waving excitedly, a broad smile lighting up her face. Riley! Adeline exclaimed, her own face splitting into a grin as she rushed forward. The two friends embraced, their excitement and joy evident in the tightness of their hug. For a moment, words failed them, and they simply stood there, soaking in the reality of finally being together in person. I can't believe we're finally meeting, Riley exclaimed, stepping back to look Adeline up and down. You're even more beautiful in person. Adeline felt her cheeks warm with a blush, her own eyes sparkling with delight. "You too! It's so surreal to finally see you face to face." They spent the next several days exploring the city, talking nonstop as they visited museums, wandered through parks, and sampled the local cuisine. It was as if they had known each other their whole lives, falling easily into a comfortable rhythm that felt like home. "I feel like I've known you forever," Adeline remarked one evening as they sat on a bench overlooking the twinkling city lights. "It's like we're soul sisters or something." Riley nodded vigorously, her eyes shining with a mixture of excitement and emotion. "I know! It feels like we were always meant to be friends, and now that we've found each other, we can't let go." Adeline smiled, a warmth spreading through her that had nothing to do with the summer evening. "Exactly. It's like we're kindred spirits or something." Their time together passed in a blur of laughter, deep conversations, and shared experiences. Before they knew it, it was their last night in the city, and they were savoring every moment together, knowing that tomorrow they would part ways and return to their respective homes. "I don't want to leave tomorrow," Adeline admitted as they sat in their hotel room, packing their bags reluctantly. "It feels like our time here was too short." Riley nodded, her face solemn even as her eyes sparkled with unshed tears. "I know. It feels like we just got here and now we have to go back to being apart." "It's not forever, though," Adeline said, her voice soft but resolute. "We'll visit each other again soon, and someday we'll make our dream of being roommates a reality." Riley smiled through her tears, reaching out to squeeze Adeline's hand. "I know we will. And until then, we'll keep chatting online and planning our next adventure." Their final goodbye the next morning was tearful, both women dreading the impending separation. They hugged tightly, neither wanting to let go, their words muffled in each other's shoulders. "I'll miss you so much," Adeline whispered, her voice thick with emotion. "Me too," Riley sniffed, pulling back to look Adeline in the eye. "But we'll talk every day, and before you know it, we'll be making new memories together." Adeline nodded, blinking back her own tears. "Definitely. And soon we'll be roommates, living our best lives together." And with one last hug, they parted ways, both knowing that their friendship had only just begun and that the best was yet to come. As Adeline settled back into her daily life, her online conversations with Riley continued to be a lifeline. They spoke every day, sometimes for hours on end, sharing their hopes, dreams, and the challenges they faced as trans women in a world that often misunderstood and rejected them. "I can't stop thinking about our time together," Adeline confessed one evening, her face illuminated by the glow of her computer screen. "It was like a glimpse into the life I've always wanted, where I could be myself without fear or judgment." Riley nodded, her green eyes soft with understanding. "I know exactly what you mean. Being with you felt like coming home, like I had found the sister I never knew I needed." As the weeks turned into months, their bond only grew stronger. They shared their triumphs and struggles, celebrated each other's milestones, and offered unwavering support through the difficult times. For Adeline, those difficult times often revolved around her strained relationship with her parents. Despite her best efforts to educate them and help them understand her identity, they remained stubbornly resistant to accepting her as their daughter. "I don't know what else to do," Adeline lamented to Riley one night, her voice thick with frustration and hurt. "I've tried everything, but they just won't budge. They still insist on calling me by my dead name and using the wrong pronouns, even though I've told them how much it hurts me." Riley's face was etched with sympathy, her brow furrowed in concern. "I'm so sorry, Addie. You don't deserve to be treated like that, especially not by your own parents. Have you considered maybe taking some space from them, at least until they're ready to make an effort?" Adeline sighed, running a hand through her hair. "I've thought about it, but I don't know where I would go. I can't afford to live on my own right now, and I don't want to impose on any of my other friends." Riley was quiet for a moment, her expression thoughtful. What if you moved in with me?" Adeline's eyes widened, her heart skipping a beat at the suggestion. "Really? You would be okay with that?" "Of course," Riley exclaimed, her face splitting into a grin. "Addie, you're my best friend. I would love nothing more than to have you here with me, where you can be yourself without any judgment or negativity. We could be there for each other every day, just like we've always talked about." Adeline felt tears prick at the corners of her eyes, overwhelmed by the generosity of Riley's offer. I don't know what to say. That would be amazing, but are you sure? I don't want to be a burden." "You could never be a burden," Riley said firmly, her eyes shining with sincerity. "You're family to me, Addie, and family takes care of each other, no matter what." Adeline's heart swelled with love and gratitude, a smile spreading across her face even as tears began to fall. "Thank you, Riley. You have no idea how much this means to me." Over the next several weeks, they made plans for Adeline's move. She broke the news to her parents, bracing herself for their reaction. "You're doing what?" Laura asked, her voice rising in pitch as she stared at Adeline in disbelief. "I'm moving out," Adeline repeated, her voice steady even as her heart raced in her chest. "I've found a place to live with my friend Riley, and I think it's the best thing for me right now." "But why?" Dan demanded, his face a mask of confusion and anger. "Is this because of your transition? Because we're not supporting you enough?" Adeline took a deep breath, steeling herself for the difficult conversation ahead. "It's not just about my transition, although that is a big part of it. I need to be in an environment where I can be myself without constantly feeling judged or misunderstood, and right now I'm not getting that here." Laura's eyes filled with tears, her voice trembling as she spoke. "But we're your family, Joey. We love you, even if we don't always understand what you're going through." Adeline felt a pang of guilt at the hurt in her mother's voice, but she knew she had to stand her ground. "I know you love me, Mom, but I need more than just love right now. I need acceptance and support, and I'm not getting that here. I'm not asking for your permission to move out. I'm an adult, and this is my decision." Dan's face hardened, his jaw clenching with barely contained anger. "Fine, if that's what you want, then go. But don't expect us to be happy about it." Adeline nodded, swallowing back the lump in her throat. "I understand. But I hope that someday you'll be able to see me for who I really am and accept me fully." With that, she turned and walked out of the room, her heart heavy but her resolve unshakable. The day of the move arrived, and Adeline found herself standing in her childhood bedroom, surrounded by boxes and suitcases. She looked around at the familiar walls and furnishings, a bittersweet nostalgia washing over her. This room had been her sanctuary for so many years, the place where she had first begun to explore her identity and come to terms with who she really was. But now it felt like a relic of a past life, a reminder of the person she had once pretended to be. With a deep breath, she picked up the last of her bags and made her way downstairs. Her parents were waiting by the front door, their faces a mix of sadness and resignation. "I guess this is it," Adeline said softly, her voice catching in her throat. Laura stepped forward, pulling her into a tight hug. "We love you, Joey, no matter what. I hope you know that." Adeline nodded, her eyes filling with tears as she returned the embrace. "I love you too, Mom, and I hope that someday you'll be able to call me Adeline." Dan hung back, his arms crossed over his chest as he watched the exchange. "Be safe out there, son, and know that you always have a home here if you ever need it." Adeline felt a flicker of anger at the misgendering, but she pushed it down, knowing that this was not the time for another argument. "Thanks, Dad. I appreciate that." With one last hug from her mother, Adeline stepped out into the bright sunlight, her heart full of a bittersweet mix of sadness and excitement. The drive to Riley's apartment was long, giving Adeline plenty of time to reflect on the enormity of the change she was making. She knew that moving out of her parents' house was a huge step, one that would likely have repercussions for years to come. But she also knew that it was the right thing to do. She needed to be in an environment where she could thrive, where she could be her authentic self without constantly having to defend or explain her identity. And there was no one she would rather take this step with than Riley. When she finally arrived at the apartment complex, Riley was waiting for her outside, bouncing on the balls of her feet with barely contained excitement. "Addie!" she exclaimed, running forward to pull Adeline into a bone-crushing hug. "I can't believe you're finally here." Adeline laughed, returning the embrace with equal fervor. "Me neither. It feels like a dream come true." Together, they carried Adeline's belongings up to the apartment, chattering excitedly about all the adventures they would have living together. As they unpacked boxes and arranged furniture, Adeline felt a sense of peace settle over her. For the first time in her life, she was in a place where she could be entirely herself, without fear or shame. And with Riley by her side, she knew that she could face anything that life threw at her. Over the next several weeks, Adeline and Riley settled into a comfortable routine. They took turns cooking meals, binge-watched their favorite TV shows, and stayed up late into the night talking about everything and nothing. Adeline marveled at how easy it was to live with Riley, how natural it felt to share space and time with someone who understood her on such a deep level. Of course, there were still challenges to face. Adeline was still early in her transition, and there were days when dysphoria hit her hard, leaving her feeling trapped and hopeless in her own body. But on those days, Riley was always there to offer a listening ear and a shoulder to cry on. She helped Adeline pick out new clothes that made her feel confident and beautiful, and she accompanied her to doctor's appointments and support group meetings. "I don't know what I would do without you," Adeline confessed one evening as they sat on the couch together, a bowl of popcorn balanced between them. "You've been my rock through all of this." Riley smiled, bumping her shoulder against Adeline's. "That's what best friends are for, Addie. I'll always be here for you no matter what." Adeline felt tears prick at the corners of her eyes, overwhelmed by the depth of Riley's love and support. "I know, and I hope you know that goes both ways. I'm here for you too, always." Riley's smile widened, her green eyes shining with emotion. "I know. We're in this together, sister." As the months passed, Adeline felt herself growing more confident and comfortable in her identity. With Riley's encouragement, she began to explore new hobbies and interests, discovering a love for photography and creative writing. She also started to build a new circle of friends, connecting with other trans women in the community who could relate to her experiences and offer guidance and support. But through it all, Riley remained her constant, the one person she knew she could always count on, no matter what. "I've been thinking," Riley said one evening as they sat on the balcony, watching the sun set over the city skyline. "We should take a trip together, just the two of us. Somewhere we can relax and recharge, away from all the stress and chaos of everyday life." Adeline's eyes lit up at the suggestion, a grin spreading across her face. "That sounds amazing. Where were you thinking?" Riley shrugged, a mischievous glint in her eye. "I don't know. Maybe somewhere with a beach? We could lie in the sun, drink fruity cocktails, and forget about the rest of the world for a while." Adeline laughed, already picturing the two of them lounging on the sand, the sound of the waves crashing in the background. "I'm in. Let's start planning." Over the next several weeks, they threw themselves into trip preparations, researching destinations and booking flights and accommodations. And when the day finally arrived, they found themselves on a plane headed for a tropical paradise, their hearts full of excitement and anticipation. As they stepped off the plane and into the warm, humid air, Adeline felt a sense of freedom wash over her. Here, in this new place, she could be anyone she wanted to be, without the weight of her past holding her back. And with Riley by her side, she knew that anything was possible. They spent their days exploring the island, trying new foods and activities, and soaking up the sun on the beach. In the evenings, they sat on the balcony of their hotel room, sipping cocktails and talking late into the night. It was during one of these conversations that Riley brought up a topic that had been on both of their minds for a while. have you thought about what you want to do long-term? She asked, her voice soft and tentative. I mean, I know we've talked about living together forever, but do you have any other dreams or goals for the future? Adeline was quiet for a moment, considering the question. I've been thinking about going back to school, she admitted. Maybe studying something in the arts, like photography or creative writing. I feel like I have so much to express, so many stories to tell. Riley nodded, a smile playing at the corners of her mouth. I think that's an amazing idea, Addie. You have so much talent and creativity, and I know you would thrive in an artistic environment. Adeline felt a warmth spread through her chest at Riley's words, a sense of possibility and excitement taking root. What about you? She asked. What do you want to do with your life? Riley shrugged, her expression turning thoughtful. I'm not entirely sure yet, but I know that whatever I do, I want it to be something that makes a difference in the world, something that helps people, especially other trans folks who might be struggling like we did. Adeline reached out, taking Riley's hand in her own. I have no doubt that you will do something amazing, Riley. You have the biggest heart of anyone I know, and the world needs more people like you in it. Thanks for watching. Be sure to check out Patreon for a lot more content and early access to YouTube videos.